Welcome to Class 6B's Assembly. Our theme today reflects on the relevance of St. Francis of Assisi in our modern world. As we prepare to celebrate this feast on Monday, the 4th of October, by the end of this assembly, you will be able to see a link between a man who lived 800 years ago and the efforts that our school makes to save energy and care for the environment.
People have only recently begun to realise that we need to take care of our world so that those who come after us will be able to enjoy it. Our natural resources, coal, oil and gas for example, will not last forever, and we know that we need to reduce waste and reuse or recycle what we can.
Today, scientists are working hard to develop more efficient ways of producing the energy that is so essential for our factories, for transport and heat and light in our homes.
We can use power from the wind, sunlight and water to provide energy. These are known as renewable sources of energy because they can be used over and over again, and their power doesn't get used up.
Schools have become more aware of the environment. Often children have helped to teach their parents how they can save energy and reduce waste.
Saint Francis lived 800 years ago. He believed that we all have a duty to protect our world and care for the creatures that live in it. He was thinking of conservation and sustainability long before the world realized the importance, so it is not surprising that he is patron saint of animals and the environment.
In his youth, Francis didn't have much time for the environment. He was too busy enjoying himself. He came from a wealthy family and made the most of the good times that his money could buy. He loved sport, wore the most fashionable clothes and enjoyed feasting on the best food and wine with his friends.
In his early 20s, Francis became a soldier, but things did not go well for him. He was captured and spent a year as a prisoner of war. Around that time, either in prison or soon after his release, he became seriously ill. He began to see the emptiness of his life and became dissatisfied with the way money had become so important to him. He began to think about what he would do for the rest of his life.
Francis set out for war again, but then he felt like God told him to stop. Francis turned back, risking being called a coward. He decided to serve God in any way he could.
Francis began by restoring churches that had become derelict. He also helped the sick and poor. He spent a lot of time walking in lonely places, praying that God would make it clear how much he served him the best.
Eventually, Francis realized that his wealth was holding him back from serving God, so he decided to give up all his possessions and money.
Francis' father was very angry about his decision and tried to persuade him Francis was making the biggest mistake of his life. Also, his friends made fun of him and thought he had gone mad, but Francis had made up his mind and could not be persuaded to change it.
Wearing a cloak and barefoot, he walked from place telling people about God's love and forgiveness.
After a few years of living and travelling alone, Francis was joined by others who helped him in his work for God. They lived in a deserted house near Francis's home, town of Assisi in Italy.
Francis called those who joined him brothers and set them one very simple rule: follow Jesus and walk in his footsteps.
In those days, you needed a license for the Pope in Rome if you wanted to preach. So Francis went there with his first brothers and was granted a license. In this way, the Franciscan order, as it now became known, was officially recognised.
More and more people joined the Franciscan order, and more organisations were needed. But one thing remained most important. The brothers did not keep possessions or money for themselves. Francis believed that money and possessions would stop people from worshipping God, because often this was all they thought about.
Respect for nature and animals was very important to Francis. It is said that he had a special way with animals who did not seem to be afraid of him. We are told that one day he even preached to the birds
woods.
Another story tells of how Francis spoke to a wolf that had been killing animals and attacking people in a village. The wolf sat at his feet, and Francis warned him to stop his attacks and make peace with the village. Francis led the wolf into the village and made a pact that if the villagers fed the wolf, that he would never attack again, and that's what just happened.
There are still people who belong to the Franciscan order and follow the rules and teaching of St. Francis. They often live in small groups helping people who are in need. They always try to make people aware of the environment and how important it is for us to care for our world and all living things.
In many ways, St. Francis was ahead of his time. We all think about recycling and saving energy, but what can we do to help animals and small creatures? St. Francis let go of his interest in money and possessions. What things do we enjoy that cannot be bought?
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for our world and all the animals that live in it. Help us to care for the world, help us to care for the animals, help us to care for the people, so that the world can be enjoyed by those who come after us. Amen. Thank you for watching 6B's Class Assembly.